a couple of seconds. All right, Dig the Falls live Tuesday night. Try to go live every Tuesday night as much as we can. Sometimes we miss it like last week, but that's all right. I'm Ed Snathers, founder of Dig the Falls. Dig the Falls has been around for 15 plus years now, and we're all about promoting getting people outdoors, cleaning up the trails, and building some trail systems if we can. So I've got Stosh and Bobby with me tonight. Stosh, if you want to give kind of a rundown of who you are, what you do.
All right. My name is Stosh Rustin. I am a Catskill Mountain Search and Rescue volunteer, public information volunteer for the Search and Rescue team as well. Former second vice president of the Catskill 3500 Club, 3500 member, trailhead volunteer, trail maintenance volunteer. I hike exclusively in the Catskills. I travel everywhere to hike as well. I've been all over the United States hiking, and I love hiking and I love waterfalls. And I've been involved with Dig the Falls with Ed for a very long time now, and I love it, and I love what he's doing. So,
yeah. Well, glad to have you along for so long. This has been a great ride.
Straight. I think when we both started together, I didn't have a beard growing, so that's a very long time.
Yeah. And then we've got Bobby from Bobby's Waterfalls. Bobby, you want to give a short rundown for yourself?
Sure. I'm Bobby with Bobby's Waterfalls, and Stan, you did just make a comment. I actually was looking at some photos of our first team meet at Chittenango, which is like 8 years ago.
Yeah.
So like that, yes, we've all been together for quite some time now.
Yeah.
Hopefully we'll be all together quite a while longer.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to be meeting up at Chittenango this month, right?
Yeah.
Yes. 2 weekends, right? Yep. In 2 weekends.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's going to be a good time, and anybody fortunate enough to be at the park on that day is more than welcome to come and hang out with us, because we love meeting people. So we've got quite a few topics that we're going to go through today. It's going to be a short session, but we'll jump through a couple of things. I want to kind of upfront thank everyone for joining the Steps app, the map that we have on there. The community's growing really nicely. We've got up over, I think, 250 people at this point, and we're continuing to add locations. We're asking the community to also add their own locations, places they've hiked, the waterfalls they've seen, things like that. Even photos that they've taken. It's going to be really fun to see what everyone's doing on a weekly basis. So go to the App Store, search Steps Map My World, and that should come up. It's like a blue symbol with a white foot. So super excited about that. The next thing is we are making some changes to our storefront. We're going to be adding a storefront for Bobby's Waterfalls and a storefront for Kara's group as well. And you know what? I do this to myself every time. Stosh or Bobby.
It's a very long name.
Yes, it is. And Stosh or Bobby, if you can correct me, because I always make a fool of myself and get it wrong. But I believe it's New York. New
York hikes and waterfalls. Leave only footprints.
Okay, leave only footprints, because I was going to say waterfalls and hikes, and it's hikes and waterfalls. Thank you. So we're going to have a storefront up for them as well. So basically, we're going to get up T-shirts, sweatshirts, stickers, things like that. So all their fans can kind of jump on and do that, and show their love directly to those guys. Hopefully, Stosh, maybe we can get something up for you too. It'd be kind of fun. No, you don't want
a little bit. It's a little bit too much work. All I just want people to do is listen. That's all I care about.
Yeah, I don't blame you, man. I don't blame you. It is quite a bit of work. But it's fun seeing the stickers kind of roll out there. I'm hoping one day to actually see like a Dig the Falls sticker on like a random car passing by. It'd be kind of fun.
That would be cool.
Yeah. So, but those are kind of the first things I wanted to touch on. The website itself is up and running. We're continuing to update it. Bobby's working a ton in the background to clean up a lot of the data. That the huge mess that was made of whatever broke in the background kind of made a lot more messes for us than what we realized. So we're working diligently to get that all fixed for our community so that they can go to our website and find what they can or what they want. So but yes, we're gonna talk about some of our hikes the last couple of weeks. We've got a couple of weeks of catching up to do, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Didn't do one last week. I kind of cut loose last minute. Last minute thing came up. So, but like always, I've kind of been hiking with the kids. So I want to actually talk to Stash and see what he's been up to.
Of course.
Yeah, because I know you've always got a story for us. So, what have you been up to?
I do.
Yeah.
I've always. I'm a very avid hiker. At least once a week, maybe twice. We had a couple weeks ago. I don't know if we were talking. If I was there, we did a rappelling class in search and rescue.
Nice. Okay.
That was really cool. It was really great to actually feel the over the edge kind of rappel that I've never done before. I've never rappelled. I've never climbed up, which was extremely difficult. But the rappelling, I had a tough time getting off the ledge. It's really beating me that I'll just go right up to a ledge that's 200 feet tall, or a waterfall that's 200 feet tall, and just look over it. But actually stepping foot over that ledge was giving me little chills and stuff like that. So my instructor was super cool. They all were super cool. We had 3 instructors from New Jersey, surprisingly, but they're phenomenal people. He pushed me over. He was just like, "Here, let me help you," and he pushed me.
That's awesome.
And I was like, "Oh shit!" And then of course it caught me. It caught me right away, and I'm just like, "Oh really?" I'm like, he's just like, "You have 3 different things holding you up right now. You have the device that's in your hands, you have me, and you have the trees behind you." He's like, or in front of you. So that was the one thing. We had to hike 2 miles in with like, God, I don't know. I think it was like 70 to 80 pounds of gear each.
Whoa, nice.
So that killed my back for 2 days.
Oh, I'm sure. Jeez.
And then standing there killed my back. Like I'm used to moving all around, so it just killed my back. But the next week I did Mount Shrimper with a friend.
Okay.
The next week I did Overlook with a friend, Overlook Mountain.
Nice. Okay.
That was very beautiful. And then today I did Mount Winston in Stanford with a friend.
Okay. Now, where is that in location to Oneonta itself? Is that north?
Southeast.
Southeast. Oh, it's been a while since I've been down there, so I can't. Yeah.
Yeah. So Mount U is basically, it's out of the Catskill line, but it's part of the Catskill range. It's one of the last big mountains in the range, and it towers over everything. It's got a 300 probably. I mean, if the freaking cell towers weren't there, they have 5 cell towers up on the top. It would be one of the best views in New York State. Wow. You can see Albany, you can see the Adirondacks, you can see the Catskills, you can see all over the place. So and it's very easy. I'm not going to say something else that you can do because that'll make people flock there. So I don't want that crap to happen.
Hold off on that. Yeah, definitely.
But that was a beautiful, stunning day. Woke up and it was 50 degrees. We were on our way up and it started to get 65 degrees with sun.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So I could have been asked for a better day.
Beautiful.
But other than that, just hiking in the Catskills, search and rescue in the Catskills, and podcasting about the Catskills.
So what's the organization that you worked with out of New Jersey?
It's called MRU, Mountain Rescue Unit.
Okay. Yeah, because you said they're like top notch, right?
They are one of the top notch Mountain Rescue Unit, I believe. Could be mistaken, is like a either globally or a United States business volunteer group. So they have mountain rescue units in separate locations and stuff.
Oh, cool. Okay.
But these guys are absolutely insane knowledgeable. They talk with each other well, and they communicate so well that, like, just one thing happens and they got, 3 or 4 different backup plans if something happens, so
Nice.
nobody's going to get hurt.
Nice.
And it's just funny that they're located in New Jersey, where the high point is like, I forgot how high, 1,200 feet. But they also have Harriman State Park. They also have steep cliffs along the Gunks and stuff like that, and Ramapo and stuff. So,
yep. Nice.
So I understand.
Wow. Yeah, that's awesome that you get to train with them. I mean, like, it's very different going from let me get Bobby back in here. It's very different working with, say, like someone that's got some experience and know what they're doing, and then you go to like that next level, which sounds like what those guys are, right?
Yes. They are, I think, like, officially certified through the United States.
Nice.
I don't know what group they're certified with, but they are 100% certified. They check their ropes every 3 months.
Wow.
And if it's bad, they throw it out and they got to get a brand new one. Like, there's little tiny things that you got to pay attention to with ropes and stuff. If there's a little scratch in it, of course you can't be like, yeah, this is okay for another month. No, you put 150 pounds on that, it could break and you're dead.
Yeah.
So
simple
stuff nuts. Of like even leaving the ropes on the asphalt, you couldn't do that because there's so much residue and stuff like that could eat away at the ropes that could stick on there.
Yeah, you don't even think about that kind of stuff. I was thinking just from an abrasive standpoint, but you're going on rocks with these ropes all the time, so that really isn't going to be the issue. So I guess that makes sense. It's funny that you mentioned that this was your first time rappelling, and actually the going over the edge was kind of the hard part. Because I've rappelled a couple of times, but not like that. It's always been kind of like either a ropes course or like a really high platform or something. And
this is extreme stuff.
Yeah, it's completely different when you're doing it your way, because like when you're at like a ropes course or a really high platform, like it's completely like that thing is completely set up head to toe. Like that's made for that, But when you get into your situation where you're using surrounding trees and they're setting you up at some random cliff.
Yep, exactly.
It's completely different.
It's like, I forgot. I wish I got the drop was at least. I wouldn't say like there was parts that were like 100 feet and then there were 75 feet. And of course we had different sections where it was a sheer drop. There was one that was an overhang, and then you had to go below, which was actually more difficult. They said it was the easier station, and it actually wasn't, because you went over the overhang, and then all of a sudden you were going inside underneath the overhang. So you're like floating, and you've never done that before. You kind of panic and stuff, but But once again, this wasn't no like we're gonna go into like a rock climbing place and they're gonna hook you up and stuff like that and just be like, go ahead, go do your thing. This is life or death, basically.
Yeah, you screw up and it's real world situation. Yeah, absolutely. Exactly. Wow, that's pretty cool. I would love to do something like that if I actually had like the time to do it, but you know me. We're all busy.
Busy as heck.
So I've actually been hiking a lot with the kids, doing a lot of like foraging stuff with them. Doing Charlotte is in homeschool. I think you knew that, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So we're homeschooling her. So while I'm out on the trail, I'm also showing her science stuff. I'm showing her animals, and then adding some of the biology in there with it. So
she's gonna be a ranger or a forester. I see it.
She's going to be a bug collector.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. She loves her bugs. She does. But the thing is like Jackson. So today we got home. I took them out to a Capital Region Environmental Lab because they had some troubles, and I was kind of on my own today with the kids. So I brought them in, and they watched the kids while I tried to take care of the problem. But then after that, we came back home, and completely exhausted. And as soon as they got out of the van, Charlotte, the boys were practically asleep in the back of the van. Charlotte saw a couple of snakes on the driveway. And right away, the boys' eyes were like this, and they were like out the door, right on the snakes. Jackson grabbed. At one
Oh
point,
my
Jackson's
God.
got 2 of them in his hands, just walking around with them. So, yeah. So I think all of them will. There's a possibility of all of them doing something outdoors. So it's
That's
interesting.
great.
So, but yeah, so we've been hiking. Geez, I want Anchor Diamond Park is the place. Anchor Diamond Park. It's north of Glenville, off of Route 50, and it's a very. I've mentioned the place before. It's a very flat hike. So we've been, we hike there a lot, and we find a lot of like mushrooms and things like that you can forage, bring home, and cook up, whatever. But you mentioned, Stash, earlier that you had like 70 or 80 pounds in your pack. I've got
Yeah,
that.
I mean, it was the pack alone, and then we also had to carry the ropes. So
Okay.
both of them combined were
Okay.
a little on the heavy side.
Yeah, I'm sure. I have been actually adding a lot of weight to my pack just because the kids, it's hard to take them on anything too crazy yet. I took them to the Posting Hill Gorge a couple of weeks back, which was great, but scary as hell because of the cliffs that they have there.
Yeah.
I've started weighting my pack, and I started out with 30 pounds, and I'm up to 60 pounds right now. And
Wow.
like 60 pounds, like you would think, like you don't really think too much about 60 pounds because like kids can be 60 pounds and you pick them up and everything, but when you've got them in a bag, that's a completely different story.
Yep.
Like you're lifting it up, getting it onto your back, and then strapping yourself in is crazy different. But right now I have bricks that I'm using. It's kind of silly, but I actually have on order. I've got 2 30-pound plates that I'm gonna pop in there. So,
Is this for a purpose? Like, are you doing this?
it's tough because like I don't get to hike like I want to. So so it's partially just self-improvement and getting exercise and things, and then also because I want to be more fit for the kids. So when they grow up, and they want to hike the harder mountains and things like that, I can do it still.
Yeah, definitely. That's a great idea to prepare for, having the kids on and a possibility of having to carry one of those kids. And then, you've been carrying 10 pounds and it absolutely kills you.
Yeah. And I remember I was up in Sam's Point Reserve the one time years back when we still had Jack, and the rocks up there are brutal on the dog's pads, and because they're just very abrasive. And at the time we didn't really give it much thought because Jack, he hiked with us everywhere, and so we got to the main waterfall there. You probably know it. I can't think of it right now.
Sam's Point.
Yeah, Sam's Point. I forget the main waterfall there.
Is that Vornau Killer or something like that? No.
Yeah, it's Bobby probably knows. I think she's frozen though. I don't know.
No, I'm not frozen. I'm listening.
Sam's Point. What is that? What is the main waterfall there? You remember?
Like Awaston is what's kicking in my head.
Yeah. Awaston. Yeah, I think that's it.
Awaston.
Yeah. So anyway, so we got there. We hung out for a little bit, and then we started walking back, and Jack wouldn't move. Like he did not want to go on the trail. And come to find out, he scrubbed one of his pads raw. And at the time, I think Jack weighed about 40 pounds. And 40 pounds isn't a lot until you've got like dead weight, like long dog, that you're trying to carry around. So, so 40 pounds walking out, what is it, 2.5 miles, 2 miles, 2.5 miles out of there? I can't remember. I think it's a 5-mile round trip or whatever to the falls, and doing that for a mile and a half, almost 2 miles, that was tough. So I'd like to be able to carry one of my kids out of the out of the woods if I have to. So
Good plan, though. I mean, that's anything that can happen. That's what we do in SAR.
But you
is
did
it?
bring up a very good point that a lot of people don't stop to think about is their animals, their dogs that they bring with them.
Yep.
And what it can do to their feet.
Yep.
I'll just stick to the little dogs because she can just go in my pocket and I just zip her up and it's not too hard to carry her along. But even just think about carrying the extra water for the dog. You're not going to always reach. They're going to be wanting more water than you are sometimes.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely.
And they're going to need it.
Yeah, and they're lower to the ground, so they're going to be hotter than you are.
Yep.
Yeah. See, especially those bigger dogs. As much heat as they absorb. But yeah, it's important to take care of your animals and have a plan to carry them out if you have to, because you don't want to be calling the rangers to carry your dog up a mountain. So,
yeah, they will definitely judge you on that.
Yeah. So no, so we carried him off and everything, and we got him bandaged up really nicely and everything. But after that, we tried some of those booties, and he was not a fan. Like, he would not use them at all. So
yeah, they don't.
Yeah.
Most dogs don't go like those things.
No. But yeah. So I mean, that's kind of the main reason I'm doing all that is just I want to be more fit, and I also want to be able to take care of the family if I have to. So, but now I think I asked you this. Excuse me. I think I asked you this last time. What is the normal weight of your pack, like on just any normal day?
Like a normal day hike?
Yeah.
Anywhere between 30 and 40 pounds, which is sad.
Okay. No, that's
It shouldn't
actually
be.
well. I mean, it shouldn't be that high.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I know you said you over prepare for any hike.
I do. I carry headlamps, backup batteries, which are freaking, I found out I actually have the most weight in my pack is 2 backup batteries.
Yep.
All the water that I could carry, a lot of food. For some reason, I love to have food on the trail. Backup socks, backup shirt.
Nice.
I over prepare.
Yeah, I haven't done any of the backup socks yet, but I'm gonna start doing that, and I've got some of the other things. I actually took one of your pointers from one of the last sessions. Recently, the kids, Charlotte particularly, has been like, I don't really want to hike, and so I started carrying Skittles, those little mini bags of Skittles.
Nice.
It makes all the difference, man. Now they're like, okay, yeah, and about halfway through the hike, they're like, is it time for Skittles yet?
Nice.
So yeah, it's great incentive. So thank you.
Yeah, anytime. I had a recent podcast about hiking alone, so
Nice.
I mean that's you're not hiking alone, but what I usually bring with hiking alone accumulates to 2 people really, which
That's
is
awesome.
Which is okay, but it's a pain in the back.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the thing, though, is you get used to that weight, and so it's different. Like me, when I first jumped on just 30 pounds on my back and in my pack, I was like, man, this is crazy. Like, people carry around way more than this, no problem.
Yeah.
So but then I got used to it after even just a couple of hikes. I was like, oh, this really isn't that bad. So so if you can get yourself used to it, even like I see so many families out hiking with their kids, and I rarely see them with packs, and it would be nice to see more families with even just one, the dad carrying the pack or the mom carrying the pack.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But then I jumped up to the 60 pounds, and it was like, wow, this is quite a bit different, and the first time I went out with the kids, I'm like, man, I wish I didn't go on as long of a hike as I did, because I got halfway through the hike. I'm like, wow, I need to set this thing down. This is nuts.
Yeah.
So, but it was cool. It was fun. So you mentioned your podcast. So you talked about solo hiking on the podcast.
Yeah, the most recent one I didn't have any interviews
Yeah.
because of what happened the week before.
Okay.
And so I decided to do I see a lot of people on different, groups and forums talking about, getting friends to hike solo. And I have hiked over 300 times. So you figure 300 times, minimum of, 2 miles to 12 miles. So I've hiked over thousands of miles.
Yeah.
And
Awesome.
60% of those times I'm solo.
Yeah, that's
So,
pretty wild. Jeez.
So my first ever hike in the Catskills, first 3,500 hike was solo.
Wow.
After that, my first bushwhack ever was solo. So
awesome. Wow. Brave. Nice.
Yeah. So I had a reason. I just decided to check it out and talk about it, and share my thoughts about hiking solo because, a lot of people fear it.
Yeah.
But you know what? I absolutely love hiking solo. I seriously think it's fantastic.
It's interesting you mentioned that. I did almost 100% of the hikes to all the waterfalls for the waterfall book I did. Pretty much I had to do them solo because Jess had her photography she had to focus on at the time, and we didn't have kids at the time, so it's like, okay, well, go out and do my thing. It's really weird because back then, or even up to a couple years ago, standing in the woods alone by myself with nobody else around always gave me that kind of tingly, weird feeling like someone's watching, like just an odd feeling. And just like this year, I've been able to really get out into the woods and actually kind of really appreciate it, kind of open like all my senses and kind of really hear what's going on around me. It feels very different than what it did even a couple years ago.
Yep.
And I don't know, is that like, in your experience, is that like the amount of hiking you do, or is it kind of like an age thing? Like as you grow up, you kind of grow a little more aware?
That's a good question, actually. I would say the older I've gotten, the more I realized how much there is out there and how much there is available.
Yeah.
And once I started hiking, actually, to be honest, I went to Jamaica and, I saw how little they had down in that country. And people were still happy. And I'm just
Nice.
like, I have a mansion compared to what they have. I have a car, my wife has a car. And then it clicked. Like, I'm just like, I have everything. I'm like, I need to stop freaking dwelling on sitting at home and stuff and get out. So I get out, and as I got older, I realized, I'm like, man, there is so much beauty in the middle of nowhere compared to, in the middle of the cities and stuff like that. And there's still great beauty in the cities. Like, the other week we drove up from New Jersey and we skirted right past New York City. And I love that view of New York City, and I'm blown away. It gets to me just like the mountains do.
Every time.
I'm just like, this is absolutely amazing what we can do. But then, like, when I'm off in the woods and, I'm like listening to a bird or two, once I get up to that certain level that I can hear the thrush doing I forgot what somebody said. It was a xylophone flute, what it sounds like.
Okay. Yeah.
Like I said, as I get older, I appreciate everything in nature much, much more.
Yeah.
Like, it's like what you said, I've gotten older and, I hear the wind. I'm just like, listen to that wind.
Yeah.
I'm like, that is awesome. I'm like, that is so cool. I'm like, who the hell does that? Old people.
and in talking about this, I one of my last solo hikes, it's at Anchor Diamond, like super simple place to hike at, but they've got miles of trails in this area, and it's on an old homestead. So you've got the rock walls and stuff with some old growth forest inside of the actual plot of land, and so I'm out by myself, and it's getting dusk time. And I'm way back in one of the farthest corners on the property itself. probably about 1.5 miles off the actual road. And I'm finding like mushrooms everywhere. Like I'm pretty excited because like I'm finding different mushrooms that I've never found before, and I'm really excited. I posted, actually, it's the same hike that I posted that beetle being massacred by those little, like, whatever the hell they were. Did you see that video? Like basically it was like a video of like thousands of mites on this
Oh,
huge
yes, I
beetle.
saw that.
Yeah. Like,
Yep.
and it was the most bizarre thing I've ever seen in my life, and that was like early on in the hike. Like, and even that kind of like skeeved me out a little bit because I'd never seen anything like that.
Yeah, that's
Um,
pretty scary stuff.
yeah, that was nuts. Because I saw the beetle running, like the beetle was trying to get away from him, and then it's like slowed down, slow, and then it just flipped over. And So, further down on a hike, I found this huge patch of, I believe they're called honey mushrooms, and they're, some parts of the world they actually say that they're the best mushrooms ever. Better than any other mushroom. So I'm like, okay, this is pretty exciting. I'm down there, I'm collecting some, and the forest, like the forest knows what's going on around you. Like it always knows what's going on, and I'm hearing birds and chipmunks and crickets and like literally everything. And then all of a sudden, it like stops, like complete silence. I'm like,
Did you look around?
well, yeah, it took me about 5 or 10 seconds to kind of really even like get it in my head, like what the hell just happened? Because it was just like all of a sudden silence through the whole forest now, and I just kind of like looked behind me because I hadn't been looking behind me to that point. And this is an older forest, so you can see pretty far. There's not a lot of underbrush, which
It's
is
all
nice.
like an open forest.
Yeah, yeah. So there's not even like a lot of like little plants even. So you can look for pretty far away. I'm looking around. I'm like, man, this is kind of weird. And I just kind of keep at it, and all of a sudden starts the coyotes, kind of a little bit off in
Nice.
the distance. And I'm like, wow, that sounds cool, but
Time to
it's,
move on.
yeah, maybe it's time to move. So, and if everything around me is quiet, they're close enough to be cautious of. So,
Fun fact, really quick, about coyotes.
yeah,
Their distance of their barks and their yowls can last up to 3 or 4 miles. So,
holy
um,
cow, yeah.
when we were just in the Finger Lakes, we were having a bonfire, and we started hearing them like yapping,
Hmm,
and these were babies, so they were like screaming and stuff like that. So they were playing,
that's
but
awesome.
we talked to a local person, and they're like, "Oh yeah, they're miles away. They're usually running down towards the lakes." He's like, "They're
Wow.
nowhere near you," and I'm just like, "Oh really?" It's like, well, they felt like they were 25 feet away.
Yeah, yeah, that's pretty wild.
So, but yeah, go on with the story. I just want to let you know. So,
Yeah, no, that's actually good to know too, because I mean, like I didn't see anything, and I didn't see any kind of like markings that they would be around, but at the same time, there were a couple of times where it felt almost like they were kind of like, um, if you want to say flanking, trying to kind of go off to the side,
yep,
But I mean, from what I've heard, and correct me if I'm wrong, I'm fairly certain that they stay away from humans as much as possible. Like they don't like being around humans,
yep.
from what I've heard. So,
What
but
they do is like to the coyotes like to almost encircle you,
yeah,
and
okay,
they'll make it feel like they're from 180 or 90 degrees to 180, and
okay,
then they'll just leave. They won't circle you fully at a 360. They'll go 180 and then they'll leave.
oh, interesting, okay, yeah,
It's very odd.
huh, yeah. So um, you know, even a couple of years ago, as I was stating, like that entire situation would have hit me completely different, and I wouldn't have had to even hear like the coyotes themselves. All I would have had to hear is the forest going quiet, and that would have been enough to, bring up, whatever scary movie you want to think about, Jeepers Creepers or whatever, you know, and that would have been enough to kind of get my mind reeling, in the woods. But now it was almost kind of comforting, kind of being that aware of my surroundings. It was really interesting.
Yeah, coyotes are very tricky.
Yeah.
Like there's been several times where I've heard them at my house, and the mountain, like I said, is 2 miles away from behind me, and
Wow.
it feels like they're down in the stream, but they're nowhere near it. We were hiking once in the Catskills, and we heard them, and like me and my friend were doing a peak, and we just sat there and we're like, what the hell are we gonna do?
Yeah.
We have our hiking poles for weapons, and they yapped and yapped, like I said, and they went around and around, and then they stopped, and then they went. So
Oh,
they
that's
were
really
like,
interesting.
they're like, we're there, we're there, we're there. We're not gonna
Yeah.
leave you.
Wow.
So I found out, I later researched that the coyotes do that to keep you away from their pack.
Oh, okay.
And then they also do that, to also sometimes scare the other predators away.
Yeah.
To know that there's 5 or 6 of them.
That's interesting, actually. Yeah. I mean, it makes a lot of sense. I mean, I've been trying to teach the kids as much as possible that animals in general, they don't generally want to harm you,
Yep.
and if they do, there's a very few reasons why they're going to do that, because it's like, I mean, if you think about it, nature has reasons why nature does what it does. And it's not like humans where, we'll tear down a tree just because we want to tear down a tree. I mean, we'll burn down a forest because we want to burn down a forest, but that's not really how nature works. So, and actually recently, we've had this one jumping spider in our house for the last couple weeks, and we'll see it on the wall, kind of just walking around. And it's one of those big gray and black ones, about the size of your pinky nail.
Jesus.
That thing just kind of hangs out, and so I researched it, and because I like researching and stuff for the kids, and come to find out, jumping spiders in general are actually curious little animals. So
Interesting.
you can put your finger up next to them, and they'll come and they'll inspect your finger, and they'll look it over. Maybe they'll jump on your finger or whatever. But the only time the jumping spiders will actually try to bite you, or or whatever, is when they're defending themselves. So you actually have to physically squeeze the spider and make it feel like it was being hurt, or whatever. So today, Connor found that spider on the floor, and he's like, "Hey, the jumping spider!" He got really excited. So I let him have at it. I said, "Okay, pick it up, take it outside," and that's what he did. It jumped onto his hand. He took it over to the window and let it outside. So it was actually pretty cool to watch. So, but anyway, so that's my nature spiel. But yeah, but we say the same thing for bears, for wolves, for pretty much anything. It's like they're not going to bother you unless you are trying to harm them first.
Funny thing is, you talk about that. Today, I was looking on my Facebook, and I go over my my memories, and it has the memory, if you remember, I don't know if it was last year or a year back, where a guy was hiking and the cougar went after him.
Oh yeah,
like the mountain lion, where it just like pounced
yeah.
at him.
Yeah.
I thought that was really wicked. I'm just like, I'm sitting here watching. He's just like, "Hey, get back, buddy, get back." He's just like, "I have nothing to do with you." And then he swore many times. He's just like, and I'm the funny thing is, I'm just like, I seriously would have done the same thing he would. I'm just like, the funny thing is, I mean, I don't want to swear on here, but I would have been like, "What the fuck's your problem?
Yeah.
Like, what is going on? What is your problem with me? Like, leave me alone." But that thing was watching that again. I was just like, man, that guy had a once in a lifetime experience that I've never seen before, of a mountain lion actually going after a person.
Yeah, that is pretty well, and he got it almost all on video too, which is
There was only one other thing I saw of when a guy was hiking in Oregon.
Okay.
And he like walked and he heard something, so he flipped up his phone. He thought it was a bear, and there's a cougar like in a little like tree looking at him.
Whoa.
And he's just like, he like zoomed in, and the thing's just staring at him. He's like, "I think it's time to leave." And he like turned around, and the cougar jumped from the tree and then up to the top of the tree and perched itself above him.
Jeez.
And was just like, "Get out of my territory." And he's just like, "Yep, I'm out." He's like, "I'm done." But just, I think it's absolutely stunning. But like you said, unless they feel something, animals, have that feeling of fear or something like that. And apparently the cougar both times was just like either the babies were there or there was food ahead.
Yep.
And it felt something to tell you to get away. So
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, you see those one-offs every once in a while where, the animal will actually, prey on a human. But that's few and far between. It's like getting hit by lightning for the most part. So
exactly.
But a lot of people don't look at it that way. But that's exactly the case. So.
Yep.
All right, so we're at 40 minutes, so I think it's a good time to stop. We'll do our shout outs. I'll keep mine simple since Bobby doesn't like me putting her on the spot. So
Hey, you gotta help me out from last week. I nailed
I
you.
know. Yeah, you did. You did really well.
So
I'm gonna let Stash do his shout outs first because he's got some pretty good ones here. I think everyone needs to listen to. And then I'll go.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I'd like to give a shout out to all the volunteers this year for the spring and summer. It's it wasn't as busy a year as COVID. I really wish we could have had people with COVID, but it was just right below that during COVID times. And from all the volunteers I've seen of having great contact with the hikers that they've met, great information. And I just like to thank those volunteers for, kicking ass and helping out those people in need, when they don't know where they're at or, they're not prepared for the hike and they tell them, hey, go over here, this would be better for you guys. The volunteers were amazing this year. And I thank you all for stepping it up because we definitely need that. And we will still need that from now until, forever because it's only going to stay as popular. The internet is here and the internet is here to stay. So once again, thank you volunteers. And thank you also to the forest rangers. I have recently, hopefully I have on the podcast, I'm going to have an interview with one of my local forest rangers. And
Awesome.
he is definitely involved in a lot of stuff. And he busts his butt for the Catskills and he busts his butt for the people, which is absolutely amazing. So thank you, volunteers and forest rangers.
So if someone wants to volunteer, where should they go? What's the best place to kind of sign up for that kind of stuff?
Well, I don't know about the Adirondacks, but I'm a big Catskills guy. So you can go to the 3,500 page for Trailhead Stewards. You can go to the New York, New Jersey Trail Conference page. That has the Summit Stewards, and that also has like Trailhead Stewards for different places down in southern New York and closer to the city.
Awesome.
You can also probably look up on the DEC website where to go and Catskill Visitor Center. Those are the main areas where you can sign up. Definitely New York, New Jersey Trail Conference and the 3,500 Club are prime spots to get some volunteer action
And it's usually an easy process because they're always so willing to bring volunteers on that it's basically like, hey, oh yeah, show up this time, next time.
Well, you got to fill out a volunteer service agreement.
Okay, good.
But that's simple as filling it out online and then sending it right in. So
cool,
it's no
awesome.
piece of cake.
And then you mentioned your podcast a couple of times, but you haven't actually said the name. So I want to get that on here too.
The podcast is called Inside the Line, the Catskills.
Awesome. And you can find that pretty much anywhere.
Yep. I hopefully got it on. If it's not on, if you guys find any platform it's not on, please let me know. Yep. The free website that I'm using to redirect and to distribute it is actually phenomenal. So I'm glad I didn't pay, I don't know, $15 a month to have it distributed because maybe it would have got more, but who knows? It's doing well.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate that.
Thank you.
So I think, the volunteers, that's huge. I'm going to jump off that and say that the volunteers that Dig the Falls has had in the past and this year have been outstanding. Jumping in on a lot of the projects, hashtagging, the 2 bucket challenge and the, Dig the Falls and just getting out there on the trails. It's really been phenomenal. I mean, I don't know if I'm hoping that everyone caught the last couple of posts that Dig the Falls made on Facebook and Instagram, but we've really been making some great strides in Troy. We've just it's really great to have people willing to kind of take their personal time, their personal energy, to get on the trails and dig up some dirt, pick up some trash and everything. So definitely volunteers all the way. And then as always, Dig the Falls team, always phenomenal. Community is awesome. So keep up the good work. Love having you guys. It's been a lot of fun this year. So, but otherwise, Bobby, if you don't have anything else you wanna jump in on, or
I'm right there with both of you guys tonight.
cool.
I agree. Without the volunteers and the stewardship and stuff like that, getting the word out.
Yep.
It would be very difficult getting the word out, say all that other kind of stuff without them.
Yep, absolutely.
Agreed.
100%. All right, guys. Well, we'll end the broadcast for now, but thanks a lot for jumping on with me.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks.